Just put this into historical perspective for me. We have seen challenges such as this, but just never gained this much traction. And indeed now, I mean, potentially an unseating?
Yeah, I mean, the recall has been on the part of the California Constitution for over a century. Every governor in the last 3 decades has had some recall attempts. Almost all of them have not gotten very far, not even gotten enough of the rather minimal amount of signatures one has to get it on the ballot. The one that actually succeeded was in 2003, when a Democrat, Gray Davis, was recalled in favor of Arnold Schwarzenegger, someone who was already pretty recognizable, who then became governor. So this was not supposed to go this way for Gavin Newsom.
Not meant to go this way. And of course, there are 2 questions asked in terms of survey results. And I think about, 39% are in favor of the recall and 60% are against it. But they're being asked, should Gavin Newsom remain governor? If not, who should replace him? I mean, what are we knowing in terms of the support factors that are coming out for Gavin Newsom? Who supports him? I know some big Silicon Valley backers support him. Eric Schmidt, Reed Hastings. Why do they support him?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. There's been Silicon Valley has been on both sides of this. And look, California is an overwhelmingly Democratic state, more so than it was in 2003 when Schwarzenegger won. It has been but I think that Silicon Valley now leans heavily Democrat. That's where the Silicon Valley moguls put their money when it comes to election time. But there also has been a lot of frustration with, during the pandemic, especially economic shutdowns, with the broader state of not only California, but particularly urban California and the Bay Area, homelessness, housing crises, the question of we're paying all these taxes and where are they going? And there have been some very vocal people on both sides, but particularly on the pro-recall side, that helped this whole campaign gain momentum in the first place.
Chamath, of course, being one of them, who's many feel that he took to the stage and moved things, David Sachs and Larry Ellison. The irony is that you say is, how much political influence do big technology, money, billionaires have over basically what is meant to be, a democratic election?
Well, it's interesting. Silicon Valley has always given money, sometimes very quietly. Silicon Valley used to lean strongly Republican back in the day. David Packard, co-founder of Hewlett-Packard, was a very important Republican donor and kingmaker, but was not someone going out in public at rallies, or he didn't have his own podcast back then, sort of giving political opinions.
He wasn't on Twitter, really?
He wasn't on Twitter, believe it or not. And so this is really interesting. In 2003, we didn't have Twitter. We didn't have podcasts. And we also didn't have Silicon Valley leaders being so visible in and of themselves. They were just CEOs of companies and were not, with a few exceptions, not all that famous on their own. And now there's both money being given, but I think even more interestingly, they're weighing in. They're complaining about Gavin Newsom. And then I think what really turned the tide is when it became less about, hey, let's get rid of Gavin Newsom, and then a realization, particularly among, again, a strongly Democratic leaning executive class in Silicon Valley, that what the alternative would be. If you get rid of Gavin Newsom, it isn't as though the lieutenant governor gets to ascend to the governorship, which happens in some other states that have the recall. And instead, it's whoever is the largest vote getter of the other candidates.